Well, good morning, everybody. We're getting ready to go out fishing, but I'm going to show you a little bit of how we're eating. We have been trying to eat healthy, almost too healthy because I'm not putting any fat in my body. But what we got here is when you're on a diet like that, you need to eat several times a day. And so if you don't have time to cook protein and different things, get some cottage cheese or get something that you can supplement throughout the day, because they should be eating like 6 or 7 times a day. Otherwise your body eats your muscles. If it has no fat reserve to go back to, it's going to find something to eat. But this stuff here, you can get this is just ground chicken, a couple bucks a pound. It's cheap and it's super lean. So what we're going to do is we're going to brown this, and then I'll show you what we're going to do with all our vegetables and why. Now guys, what I'm doing here is not all about how great it tastes, although it does taste really good. It's about getting specific foods into our system, okay? Like kale, broccoli, peppers, onions, mushrooms. This stuff has a lot of value to it. Spinach, same thing. We eat a lot of spinach. These are really high in nutrients, so important to get it into your system regardless of what it looks like and tastes like. It's just about consumption at this point. So let's get this stuff prepared to go in. I just like to take these and break them all into pieces, and then I can cut them in half or do whatever. If they're small enough like those guys, all we're going to do is put them in the pan, soften them up a little. Now the thing is you don't want to boil your broccoli, because when you boil something, and if you do to do it more, like steam it just for a few minutes, because what you're trying to do is not boil away all of the nutrients that are inside it. The longer you boil it, the more the nutrients just come right out of it. So you want it still crunchy. You're not supposed to boil it for more than maybe 4 or 5 minutes. So it's still going to have a crunch to it, but that just means you've kept all the goodness inside of it. So we've got our chicken brown. All I'm doing is just cutting up this stuff into pieces that will basically break up and will spread around through the whole dish. Now, broccoli takes a little while to soften up, and I'm not looking to make it super soft, but I'm just sticking it in here on the heat. As you can see, there's no grease left, no fat, so we're just throwing them right back in the same pan, and we're just gonna let this stuff go. We'll put the peppers in there, the onions in there. That takes a little bit longer, but the broccoli takes the longest to soften up. We'll just put a little splash of olive oil in there, just a tiny bit. Basically roll those around, and we'll just keep stirring them just to soften them up a little bit. And if you wanted to, you could add a little bit of water. That'll help kind of steam them and soften them up. We don't mind if they're a little bit of crunchy. Again, this isn't all about what it tastes like, although it's going to be yummy. It's about getting good stuff in you. Now the kale and the spinach, we're going to use a lot of that because the leaves wilt down. You think you're using too much, but once they wilt down, you can't even find the stuff. So we're going to use a big portion of this. Now I'm going to get like our pepper. We're going to get that sucker cut up so that we can put that in here in a few minutes with the broccoli. This will soften up a little bit faster than the broccoli will. That's why we're kind of timing things the way we are. All this only takes a few minutes to make, guys, and it's healthy. And if we have leftover, which we probably won't, but if we do, we stick it in the refrigerator, and it's something that I can snack on, or the kids can snack on, or whatever later during the day when we don't have time to cook another fresh meal. But we make every meal fresh here. That's That's just how we live. We have the time to, you know, we work out of the house for the most part, so we're able to quick whip something up. I get rid of the white stuff because it tends to be kind of bitter. And these bell peppers are pretty sweet by nature, you know. Take the bitter out. All we're doing is just cutting it into little bite-sized pieces. Okay, we want to keep stirring that, flipping this stuff over, letting it soften up. You can see the edges are getting a little bit browned, which is great. All right, I'm gonna throw my peppers in there with it. Now, like I said, the leafy stuff, that stuff wilts very quickly. And a lot of times, we're gonna add eggs to all this for more protein. A lot of times I won't put the greens in until just before I add the eggs. It only takes a couple of minutes with the eggs to become firm and kind of, it basically just is your binding agent that binds it all together. Choke it down on a plate and go to town. You can cut everything into the same portion sizes, your onions, your peppers. It doesn't really matter. Again, it's not about the display as much as it is about getting good stuff in your system. I'm gonna throw these right in here too with the peppers. Same time. Give it a toss. A lot of people don't like broccoli because it smells funny, but it's one of the healthiest vegetables out there. Broccoli has a lot of vitamin A and a lot of good stuff in it. All right, we're getting close. I'm gonna throw my protein back in there. Look at that. Not a drop of fat. Love that. Chicken, and we do a lot of ground turkey, stuff like that. It just doesn't have a lot of fat. Get a lot of my fat from chicken thighs and things like that when we make soup, and we're going to do a video on that. It's a good healthy soup that you can make a big bowl of it or a big pot of it, and then just have a bowl throughout the day whenever you don't have time to make something. It's there. Just throw it in a pot, warm it up. Away you go. Just keep that nutrition going through your body through the whole day. I'm gonna put some of this pink Himalayan salt on there. I know it probably looks like I'm putting a lot on, but there's a lot of food here. All right. Okay, we're just gonna dice up our mushrooms. Those don't take long to get soft either. And all I'm doing is I'm cutting them a little bit smaller maybe than the rest of the stuff so that if you leave it big, you're not going to have a good mixture throughout. So these will help. When you cut it down to size, it'll spread through everything versus just having a few chunks here and there. It'll be throughout. All right, so now I'm going to grab a carton of eggs, put a bunch of eggs in here, whip them up, add them to it, and then we can add our spinach and our kale. All right, I threw a dozen eggs in here. Now, I try not to eat more than 3 eggs a day. That's kind of the rule of thumb, depending on your diet, what else you're eating. You know, it's a good source of protein. So what I'm doing is I'm just beating these up so that we can just put it in on top and then stir it all together, and as this heats up, it'll bind everything. Now, another cool way is if you do this and you have an all steel pan, you can put your eggs in, mix your kale and your spinach together, and then if you have an all steel pan, you can slide it right in the oven and make kind of like a quiche or whatever you would call it. But this way here works just fine. So I've got the heat off right now. I'm just gonna pour this right in there. I'm gonna take a whole bunch of spinach. Okay, so I just roughly chopped some of this stuff up, the spinach, because if you don't, it'll all want to stick together, and then you'll be eating it and you'll have a clump of all the leaves will just shrink down and be stuck together. So we want to try to disperse it throughout the dish here. So I just turned my heat back on. I'm going to add this stuff. It's going to look like a lot, but once this stuff starts to wilt down, you'll see it won't amount to a whole lot. And I am making a mess. All right, so we got the heat on. Now you could get a lid if you got a pot with a lid. Kind of put the lid on, that'll help kind of shrink everything down. And once this starts to get hot again, then I'll start stirring it all in and mixing it up. All right, you can see everything's kind of shrinking down now. A little more room in the pan. All I'm doing is just stirring it over heat, the higher heat. Now we've got a dozen eggs. Like I said, I try not to eat more than 3 a day, but I'd rather eat a little extra eggs than eat nothing if I don't have time to prepare some protein. But you gotta figure there's 5 of us here right now. So even if we ate this whole thing, we're gonna be right around what we need to be as far as egg consumption for the day. All right, well, done. If I would have done something different, make it a little prettier, I would have used maybe red bell peppers, you know, give it a little more color, but we're all out of red, so yellow will work. You ready, Ben?
Oh.
All right, Brandon, you hungry? Yeah, let's do it. We'll see how fast this stuff disappears. It's good. And even if it doesn't look good, guys, it tastes good, and it's just about nutrition. We're gonna be out there going out deep today, and we could be out there till dark, and we don't like to bring a lot of snacks, and we'll make some sandwiches or something to take with us, but this is a good way to start off your morning. Quick, easy. Hopefully you guys try this. Thanks for watching. See you out on the water.